every despot and tyrant and dictator that has come along anywhere in the world since then, the first thing they have done is muzzle the press, call it in their own language, in their own way, fake news, and brainwash the people into believing falsehoods over truth.
There's a thing we do here. There's a wildfire burning up the coast, or in the East County, a war is driving the news. Country feels like it's coming apart. It's easy on this island to decide none of that really belongs to us. The bridge will sort it all out. Keep it on the other side. What's on the other side stays on the other side. I love this town, and I know that isn't true. I'm Laura Wilkinson Sinton, and this is Coronado is Not an Island. It's about the local stories that connect us to the rest of the country. My guest today has spent his life paying attention to exactly the things it's tempting to look away from. He's covered the front lines for NBC News, Afghanistan, the Gulf War next to Tom Brokaw, the drug wars, apartheid, and then he made his home here. He helps run one of the biggest community conversations on the island, Facebook's the 92118, and he writes plainly about local politics a lot of us only talk about very quietly. He's the right person for the question this show keeps coming back to. What reaches us over that bridge right now? And what does it ask of us as a town that would rather not notice? Brad Willis, let's get into it. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So give me a little of your background. I know you grew up in West Covina. How did you get to Coronado? You had family here. Can you give me a brief background on that?
Oh, boy. I was born in L.A., migrated to the suburbs, got out of there as soon as I was of age, went to college, and happened by a little TV station in Eureka, California. Walked in not knowing why I was there and got hired for my first job as a news reporter on television, an NBC station. And from there, slowly up to the network news with Tom Brokaw.
So what took you to parts unknown to most of us? I mean, how did you become, instead of covering, being an anchor and that kind of thing, how did you get into the war correspondent aspect of it?
Well, on my way to larger TV markets, I landed in Boston for NBC television. And I had just arrived. It was 1986, and I saw a picture of a little girl in Afghanistan covered by a sheet with piercing eyes saying, Free Afghanistan Alliance, and nothing else. And we know that the war in Afghanistan, the invasion of the Soviet Union, was raging. Senator Ted Kennedy was trying to get help for the Mujahideen freedom fighters. He's a Massachusetts senator. So I contacted him, and I put together a program to go over there. The station had never done anything like it. They took a chance, and off I went through the wild territories of Pakistan, into the mountains, up with the Mujahideen during the war.
Wow. Did you grow a beard?
No. I would have stood out anyway.
Yeah, I guess you would have stood out anyway.
Yeah.
So your family, I believe, was in Coronado before you were, or?
Well, I was off doing that. They were migrating down here. One of my two older sisters went to San Diego State, married a Coronado man, moved here. My family fell in love with it. My parents came down in the late 1960s and the 1970s. My elder sister moved down. My nieces and nephews were here. So everyone was here but me.
You were in Boston at the time?
Well,
or
at that time I was in the network, and I was living in Hong Kong in charge of all of Asia after the Persian Gulf War.
Right. It's a fascinating story to think about all the places that you have been and the people that you have met, and yet you come back to make your home here. You bring that lens with you, don't you?
You do. I mean, it changes your life to witness cataclysmic events around the world and to see the dark underbelly of human behavior firsthand. And then when you see things at home that aren't that, they aren't massive wars, but have that same politics and deception and a whole host of interwoven motives around them, you realize it's everywhere.
Human nature.
Human nature. Yeah.
So you bring that lens, looking at the malfeasance in Afghanistan or in different countries, execution of wars, and you see that on a small scale when you come to a small town, or you look for it, or you see it, or how does that work?
It just sort of happened on me, Laura. I moved home in 1993, to Coronado, bought a home because I had family support. Right. I had broken my back, had a failed surgery, and lost my career with NBC. So the first few years were just recovering from that, and then came a little bout with cancer from the Gulf War. But after I recovered from all of that, I started paying more attention to what was happening in our community. And it really started several years ago when a Christian nationalist cult tried to move into Coronado. I have to say, for those who don't know, Christian nationalism, it isn't Christian, and it's not a religion. It's a political cult that wants to create a right-wing theocracy in the United States of America, much like the Taliban created in Afghanistan after they got rid of the Soviet Union.
So you have experience with this.
Yeah, it's ironic.
You can see it at 50 paces.
So I started writing a blog called Perspectives, Dispatches from the Home Front, exposing what this church was and what they were up to. Their founder and lead pastor called us demoniacs, threatened to rent us out of town, told his flock that if he gave them 10% of their money forever, God would make that more than the 100% they had before, and claimed that he stopped the tanks in Tiananmen Square by speaking in tongues from 1,000 miles away. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now we're seeing people here in America believing absolutely crazy things from our president. So it just keeps going round and round.
Right. So this particular church that you're talking about, there was a protest in Coronado, I believe, in front of the Hotel Del.
In front of the Hotel Del, we got a petition, more than 1,000 people opposing it. There were protests against it. I wrote 2 years of blog posts about it. They never really got a solid foothold in the community. And from there, after the re-election of Donald Trump to the presidency, the blog shifted towards national politics and how it impacts us in every local community.
And those same elements are present from, from the dog catcher on up.
That's right.
That's what's there. And the press is really the watchdog. And as our press, as newspapers have collapsed, and it's all changing in terms of how we get our information, how do we break through? How do we make this stuff happen?
It's difficult. The press has been the watchdog since before our founding fathers wrote the Constitution, and they made sure it was enshrined in the First Amendment. And every despot and tyrant and dictator that has come along anywhere in the world since then, the first thing they have done is muzzle the press, call it in their own language, in their own way, fake news, and brainwash the people into believing falsehoods over truth.
So the fake news argument is what you say to anything that's uncomfortable?
That's right.
In the truth?
That's right.
And it paints, it's kind of like the voter fraud. It doesn't really exist. You hear about citizen journalists, which is, I think it's an oxymoron personally. You're either a journalist and you abide by those standards, or you're an opinion person. And I think, Fox News is one of those places where opinion and news kind of blended together, MSNBC as well. But all of a sudden you have these sides, whereas journalism used to be straight down the middle.
And the difference, MSNBC has plenty of opinions, some of them a little too hot-headed,
right?
But they deal in the truth and in facts. Fox, I can't call it news, it's propaganda. They deal in falsehoods. They've had to pay multi-million-dollar settlements for falsehoods promulgated about Dominion voting machines during the first election of Donald Trump. They are the party line They are the voice of Big Brother that we saw in 1984.
Right.
They're not news.
Right. Crazy stuff. So if there was one moment that you could think of overseas that you brought home with you and you apply in your daily life in the 92118 and in your Substack blog, what would it be? Or is there one moment? You have so many.
Human compassion. When I was in Afghanistan, after being up with the freedom fighters in the mountains, I went down into the refugee camps. 5 million people out of a nation of 15 million refugeed in horrible conditions. And I was struck by the children and their plight. And I actually arranged to get many of them airlifted to Boston for medical treatment at the time. And it touched my heart. And I think now, every day about the future of my son, and one day he may have children. I think about the future of your grandchildren and everyone's children and the future of this nation, because they're going to inherit what we're giving them.
And that's not just the political situation, that's climate change and
everything.
All of the aspects to it. And these are problems. Should we be addressing them more strongly?
I think right now we have one job, and that's to save democracy. I think the rest of it has to take a back seat for now, because as our 250th anniversary of this great nation approaches, we don't know that it will last beyond that. And, the fate of the United States, American democracy, really hangs in the balance, and it's up to all of us to keep coming together like Americans have in No King's protests, like our courts have and activist lawyers have, to preserve what we have and to make sure that we don't turn into an authoritarian state, which would be, by the way, Christian Nationalist, which is behind the Project 2025 that provided the blueprint for the Trump administration.
Well, and so many of the institutions have been destroyed, literally. I mean, just bulldozed. USAID. We now have an Ebola outbreak happening in Africa, and under the Obama administration, we sent the CDC and WHO members that we funded over there to prevent Ebola from spreading, because we knew eventually with air travel it would wind up in the United States. And now we have that outbreak, but we don't have the infrastructure to go and protect ourselves there.
We have measles outbreaks at military facilities here in the United States because RFK Jr. doesn't believe in vaccines.
And I understand we have one at an Air Force base, too, we have a flu outbreak of something like 160, 180 service members from the United States Air Force have the flu because the Secretary of Defense said it was, they weren't going to have any mandates for vaccines.
And they'll take that home to their children.
Of course they will, and their communities. That's the concerns that all of us have. So having people like you who are storied and have the authority from years of journalism and seeing all of this transpire around the globe is critical. Having you write in your Substack, having you post on the 92118 and foster those community conversations. So let's talk about community conversations a little bit, because some are on Facebook, some are in Vaughan, some of them are over the bridge. Where do those conversations take place?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I've been out shopping or out walking the dog in Coronado, the community I love so much, and I'll have someone walk up to me and say, "Are you that guy?"
Who's after?
And I'll think, here comes the broadside.
Right.
Because we have liberals and conservatives in our community, and mine is a very liberal voice. And I'll say, yeah, and kind of get ready. And no one ever once has criticized. They've all said, thank you for what you do.
Nice.
And that's been really heartening. So those conversations, they happen in the streets, they happen in the grocery store, and they happen online a lot in various groups, not just the Facebook group I run, but in other Coronado-based Facebook groups as well. Some which get pretty wild.
Yeah, I've noticed. Tell me about your sisters and they're established Coronadans as well.
Well, I have two older sisters. The middle sister, just 2 years older than me, is the one that moved here first and was the magnet for everyone else coming here. She eventually took a top job in management with the Hotel del Coronado and ran all their retail operations for 25 years or so.
Right.
My other sister, when she came here, ultimately became the assistant city manager.
For the city?
For the city of Coronado, and was the one who facilitated restoring Village Theater, putting in elderly housing, restoring the Blue Water Boathouse. It became a chart house. It was dormant. She had that historic building saved. Helped oversee the plans to build our community center and new council chambers. And they
Those
both
are gorgeous.
Really contributed a lot to the Coronado community, and I'm just so proud of them both.
No doubt, you should be. Yeah. Did your sister work for Larry Lawrence at the Hotel Del?
She did work for Larry Lawrence.
I'll bet she had some stories.
She's got some stories.
Definitely. That's an amazing one. How do we get the town to talk about the wider world? You know, we do feel sometimes we live in a bubble, but of course, I have to go over the bridge. I mean, that's one of the big arguments. People drive all the way down the Strand to get gas in IB and get their cars washed. We in the Coronado Cays, we just wave as we go by. It's a very long strip. It's not an island. I think we had this conversation once. Is it an isthmus? What is Coronado?
Many arguments. Some call it a tombolo, which means a tide island that has a little like a pollywog tail, which others will say that's the isthmus, and therefore it's a peninsula, or another term for a tombolo is a tide island. Doesn't matter. It's a village. It's a community that can be like Mayberry, RFD, just a small little town with one of the most powerful military bases on Earth right on its tip, and with an international hotel that brings people from around the world. As you know, in the summer, you can walk down by the beach and hear a dozen different languages spoken.
If not 69 different languages.
See people from throughout Europe and Asia and the Middle East and Africa and beyond. So it becomes multicultural at that time.
So even though it's an island geographically, it's certainly not culturally.
Right.
We have an influx. It's almost like a port town that we have so many people from different places all the time that are coming in. We just had the NASCAR race too, which was interesting and brought a lot of people too. That was an interesting use of our naval base.
It was interesting, to say the least.
The subject of another podcast for sure. If you could wish something for the citizens of this island or this community, what would it be?
I think the main thing would be an end to the cross-border sewage, so that everyone who lived here could enjoy this beautiful ocean that we have, and again, their children and their grandchildren could enjoy it, and it wouldn't be. It's a constant source of concern and depression for a lot of people in our community. It has been for a long time.
Yeah. Do you think there was a tremendous amount of denial that was going? I mean, that was my impression. Obviously, StopTheSewage.org is my nonprofit, and I was stunned that there wasn't really activism fighting this when I moved back.
There was a tremendous amount of denial. We had business concerns. I would put forth the hotel itself. Right. Wanting to downplay this because it could cut into profits. We had a former mayor in the city who denounced Richard Bailey denounced the ocean testing as not adequate to new testing, and did very little to address this problem as well. And so it's been like every political issue in this country. It's been complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of denial. It's never going to happen, never going to happen. That's IB's problem. That's IB's problem. It happens, as they say, slowly at first and then all at once.
That's right.
And that's where we are today.
I can't tell you how many times I've walked by the hotel and looked at my phone and seen the San Diego County water quality map, alerting that it's all red. The whole ocean is red. It means highest level of toxic sewage in there. And you can't see the warning signs that are required on the beach. Anyone going to the hotel that walks your children onto that beach is going to be hard-pressed to ever see a little yellow sign
Yeah.
stuck in a place that's not really that highly visible before their precious little children stick their toes in that water.
Yeah. I think the code, and we can flag the county on this, the code is every 50 yards, 50,
You're right.
or 50
Every
feet.
50
Those signs
yards.
have to be
Right,
along there. So I know
one day they weren't, Laura, and I took a photo of it and I posted it
Yeah.
on our Facebook group, and lo and behold, the next day, there they were, 50 yards
Interesting.
apart. Yeah,
So that is the job. That is our job as watchdogs.
that
Really,
could be a
of our own
coincidence,
community.
but
Yeah. Not likely.
not likely.
Not likely. No. And I worry about that with the dogs at Dog Beach too. You know, people don't understand that.
Right.
Our lifeguards, our first responders have been terrific through this whole thing. They are on bullhorns asking people, get out of the water, informing them the Tijuana sewage thing. But that's, it's never good for tourism as well.
And you have been a champion, forming
you.
the Stop the Sewage group, getting high school students involved and taking charge and taking them up to Sacramento for politics as well. It's just been amazing what you have done to try to deal with this problem.
We're trying, it's trying to break through in this noise that's constant, this constant noise of drama all the time in this current administration has been kind of difficult.
Right.
And there's so many things going on. It's a complex society, but we're trying to get it. And it's because of people like you that we're on it and that we kept after it. Just, posting that picture on the 92118 for people to see, because not everybody who lives in Coronado walks along the Hotel Del every day.
In every way, internationally, nationally, regionally, and locally, we have to keep our voices on high.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we stand to lose everything.
That's what's at stake. Thank you for defending democracy, by the way, and what you do. And please say hello to your lovely wife, Laura Plum. We adore her.
Thank you for having me.
And your doggy Boomy.
Who can't go to the Dog Beach anymore.
I know, but we'll see him in the village and at the dog wash, right?
Right.
Brad Willis, thank you so much for joining us. You're a treasure for our community, and we're so glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
All right. That was Brad Willis, someone who's seen how the wider world can go and who chose to make his home here in Coronado. He loves this island enough to keep reminding it that the bridge runs both ways. You can find his writing on Substack, and if you're on Facebook, go to the 92118. You've probably already crossed paths with him there. Share this with somebody here who you think would appreciate it, or with someone across the bridge who already knows we're all on the same side of it anyway. Coronado is not an island, and neither are you. We'll see you next time.